Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to read another short but beautiful poem written by my favorite poet, Robert Frost. The title of the poem is Fire and Ice. Now, children, this poem outlines a question about the fate of the world. How will the world end? Is it more likely to be destroyed by fire or ice? Now, this poem has a deeper layer also. What does fire symbolize? What does ice symbolize? Many poems have primary and secondary meanings. A poem can be interpreted in different ways. So let's see how we can interpret this poem. How many layers this poem has. Right? Okay. So this poem is based on a book. Name of the book, title of the book is Dante's Inferno, in which this book describes Dante's journey through the depths of hell, where Dante sees 9 circles of hell, and each circle holds a different punishment for sinner souls. Now, there are two punishments with which Robert Frost got inspired. One punishment was that the sinner's soul is dipped in ice cold water. And the other punishment is the sinner's soul is thrown into a well of fire. So, this book inspired Robert Frost to write this poem. Okay, let us begin. Here are a few word meanings for you. Let me read the poem first. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. So, children, in this poem, the word fire symbolizes desires. How it symbolizes desires? Have you seen fire? The fire needs fuel for its existence. The more fuel you'll put inside it, the fire will consume it more. And again, you have to put fuel inside it. It can be wood, it can be coal, it can be petroleum, kerosene, anything. So fire gulps in everything. Still, it asks for more. Desires are also like this. The more we get, the more greedy we become. Ice here in this poem is a feeling of indifference. Have you heard the phrase cold shoulder? Right? So, when you do not feel about any person, right? You are not affected with the suffering of some other person, right? You can also call it hatred, but indifference will be more appropriate, right? So now what the poet says. Poet says that there are two notions in the society about the destruction of the world. The first of these theories tells us that the fire will cause a disaster. Now here we know that he is not talking about normal fire. He's talking about desire, the greed of human being, right? And then poet says, he confesses that he agrees with those people who believe that the world will be burnt by fire. It means the greed, the desires of human being will, what will be the result of them? The result will be destruction of this world that we are already looking around, right? That we are already seeing. Next, in the next four lines, the poet says that there is another theory about the destruction of earth, that is by ice. Here poet says ice, and ice, by ice we know that it is indifference. People are not passionate or sympathetic or empathetic about others anymore, right? So then he says that he considers that what might happen if the earth were to be destroyed a second time. He is sure that second time ice or indifference in the society will be enough to destroy the earth, because it is as effective as the fire, as greed, right? So ice is the symbol of hatred, indifference, and fire is the symbol of greed, desires, unending desires of human beings, right? Now, as I have told you, poem can be interpreted in many meanings, right? So there can be a question that how can you relate the poem with the contemporary society, the contemporary world? So we can say, of course, these things are there, but there is another perspective to this poem, that we also know that global warming, due to global warming, the temperature of the world is rising. The temperature of our earth is rising. So that can also be compared to fire, right? And there is another thing, another theory, ice age. The world can be destructed by ice age also, right? So these natural phenomena, right, can be also considered responsible for the destruction of earth. So that meaning can also be associated with this poem, right? Let's begin with our poetic devices. Yes, children, let us talk about the poetic devices. The poetic devices are, first, let us talk about the rhyme scheme, that is ABA, ABC, BCB. First, we have assonance. Assonance is in the line, I hold with those who favor fire, right? So the sound of O is repeated in this line. Then we have alliteration. So the sound of F in favor fire and W in world will. that is there. And then imagery is also there. When we say imagery, it means that description which appeals to one of your senses. So when we say, some say the world will end in fire, or to say that for destruction ice is also great, so you can imagine the picture in your head. So that is imagery. We have anaphora. Anaphora is when some phrase or word is repeated in the beginning of a few lines. So, some say is repeated in the start of lines 1 and 2. So, there is anaphora. And then we have enjambment. Enjambment is when we say, from what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. Right? So, these are some poetic devices. So, in this poem, as I have told you, the poet has given different perspective, uh, that how the world will end, right? So, this is a short poem about the poet's perspective of the destruction of earth. We'll meet again with another poem. Till then, goodbye.